Okay, I think that's a defaced, cutting up flag of the Japanese flag. Lots coming out of Korea today. This protest outside the Japan embassy in Seoul. Hundreds there looking for an apology from Japan for crimes committed in World War II. They also don't want the U.S. Congress to host Shinzo Abe when he visits the U.S. Next month. So there you go. The mood is hot there. Charges have been finally made in last month's knife attack on the U.S. ambassador to South Korea. A 55-year-old nationalist faces attempted murder and could get life in prison, possibly a death sentence. And South Korea will pay $308,000 for each student killed in last year's horrible seawall ferry disaster. 250 perished in that accident. The family still want an independent probe into the accident. They also want the sunken ferry to be raised. It is still sitting on the seafloor. And following the German wings crash that killed 150 people, South Korea has now announced it will, too, impose a cockpit rule of two. June, it hasn't been standard throughout the world. U.S. airlines have had this rule in place where if one of the crew members leaves to go back, say, use the washroom or something, a purser or a cabin crew member has to take his place to make sure there are always two people in the cockpit. And I guess Asiana, Busan Air, Korean, they're going to do the same now.
Exactly, Bernie. So Korean aviation regulations will now require at least two or more people to be working in the cockpit of an airline in flight going forward. The Ministry of Transportation has implemented these regulations, and it takes effect immediately today. And following the German wings crash last month, the investigations, of course, are showing that there may have been just one pilot in the cockpit when the crash happened. So this new regulation is following this data. And Korean Airlines and Korea's biggest budget airline, Jeju Air, have already operated the two-pilot regulation previous to this crash on a voluntary basis. And with this new regulation, the changes will be coming for Korean Air's budget airline, Jin Air, and T-Way Airlines, and they will be starting two-pilot operations today. So this will be for these names, and Asiana Airlines and its budget carrier, Busan Air, have confirmed that they have gotten the notice, and they are getting ready to start these new operations soon, starting April 10th next week. Bernie?
Not a second too soon here. And by the way, in a related, well, not an unrelated story, but still related to the airlines, the macadamia nut case heiress, June, has begun her appeal to the Seoul High Court. She's appealing to reverse a court ruling due to breaking a law relating to forcing crew members to deviate from a flight route. As you remember, she was upset at the way macadamia nuts were served to her in a bag rather than in a dish in a formal fashion, and she was charged with disrupting a flight when she ordered the flight back to the gate and the kicking off of the purser. Her lawyer claimed the law did not apply to the incident as the plane was taxiing when it happened and was sentenced to 1 year in jail in February. Boy, I mean, talk about naming and shaming and being in the public spotlight for all the wrong reasons. I mean, a lot of people say, why do you keep holding your head down? How could you ever hold your head up in a place that is so myopic like Seoul, where everybody knows who is who and who has done what? There you go. Lots more in the final hour of Squawk. Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia join the trading day ahead. Opening numbers and a very, very special guest coming up on the show, but you have to keep tuned to find out what he or she, I'm not sure, he or she is.